Welcome to the Terrible Podcast with your hosts from SteelersDepot.com, where you can find all your latest and greatest Steelers news. It's Dave Bryan and Alex Kozora, always lit, talking Steelers. And now, here's Dave and Alex.
Welcome to the Terrible Podcast, Season 11, Episode 61. He's Dave Bryan. I'm Alex Kozora, SteelersDepot.com. Glad you guys are back with us for this Friday, this Christmas edition of the Terrible Podcast. Wishing all of Steelers Nation a very Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays. Dave, it is a white Christmas in Western PA. Got a couple of inches of snow last night. I think it's the first time we've had a true white Christmas in quite some time. So Merry Christmas to you. Hope everyone in your family and your life is staying safe.
Oh yeah, just us out here in Vegas. Yeah, Merry Christmas to you and everybody listening as well. No days off, right? I mean, we work this thing the way we've always kind of worked it. And all obviously, I think you're running off to go spend some time with the family, much needed. And Matthews kind of worked ahead on the site. There's some tremendous content as usual from him and all, and just so blessed to be able to do what we do, right? You know, that's enough Christmas present for me.
Absolutely. Likewise. Great job to our team. It's worked really hard. Busy week, I know, for everybody. So really appreciate everyone getting you ready for the Colts game. And of course, we will continue with the podcast and preview the Colts game a little bit later in the show. But let's jump right into things here, Dave, with the Steelers injury report that was released on Thursday. And some notable players not practicing. Marcus Allen with that stinger injury suffered in his left shoulder during Monday night's loss to the Bengals. Also not practicing was Stephon Tuitt for the second straight day with a back injury. Oladeni did not practice with a shoulder injury. UG3 missed with an ankle injury. And Chris Boswell was a late add to the injury report, limited due to a groin. And that is obviously something to watch moving forward with him.
Absolutely. A few surprises on there, right? You know, based on kind of what we had learned earlier in the week. I think another surprise is that Derek Watt, with that concussion, has been listed as a full participant on both Wednesday and Thursday. I certainly didn't see that coming. You and I talked about, the fencing position that he was in the other night immediately after suffering, that concussion and all. I don't even know what concussion protocol is anymore. I don't guess. I am surprised. We'll see what Friday holds for him, and obviously a few of these other guys. But they can't keep these linebackers healthy, can they?
Nope.
Marcus Allen, and credit to Marcus Allen, and I think you posted on the Twitter machine on Thursday there. Boy, when he went down, you thought, oh my God, that guy's going to be out, and it's a bad shoulder injury. I kind of wondered if it might be a stinger, the way he kind of got up not too long after and made it to the sideline. And the thing about it is he never technically missed a snap in the game. He went off, and there was the penalty on the next play, obviously a no play, and then the end of the third quarter. And boy, fourth quarter, he's right back out there, and he was even in on the tackle, first play on Giovanni Bernard, first play of that fourth quarter there. But obviously that stinger's enough to keep him out of practice this week. You just hate to see a guy like Ulysses Gilbert, right? On this injury report again, a guy that we haven't seen nearly enough of, that we probably would have seen a lot more of this season had he had that back not acted up on him, and then back he comes, and then now he's got an ankle injury that forced him out of the game against the Bengals for a little while, and then now he's missed two days of practice. You have to wonder what his status is. Obviously, the big plus here, and the injury report does not reflect it, is that Vince Williams is back off of the COVID list and practicing. They expect to have him this week, so at least you got two of them there. We'll see what happens with Marcus Allen and UG3 to close out the week on Friday, and then you would think, with one of those two maybe going to be down, we'll see T. Gray Scales back up and dressed in case of emergency there. But the biggest name I think on the list overall is Stephon Tuitt. Really didn't see that one coming either, with a back injury there, 2 days back to back. Did not practice. we'll see what Friday holds for him. Obviously, you would really like to have him in the lineup against kind of a power running team, if you will, in the Colts on Sunday here, and it'd be nice to have Stephon Tuitt on the field. And as you mentioned, Chris Boswell. We'll have to see what happens with him, with it being added late in the week with the groin. Obviously, they still have Matthew Wright, who they can promote from the practice squad. The Saturday moves will tell us a lot there.
Absolutely. Yeah, Tuitt would be a huge loss. Hopefully he can get himself right with Ola Daney with that shoulder. If he can't go, that would open the door for both Jay Elliott and Cassius Marsh, who's been inactive since being signed off the Colts practice squad, facing his old team. So maybe a chance for him to dress and play this weekend. Eric Ebron did return in full on Thursday after suffering that back injury in Monday's game. So that is good news for him. Steelers also... we covered that roster move during Wednesday's show, right, with Kevin Rader being signed back to the practice squad.
I don't. Did that? I think that happened towards the end, didn't it?
Show. Yeah. Okay, so there was that. Vince Williams came off of COVID. Is there a roster move that I'm missing somewhere? I thought I'm missing some piece of minutia. Kevin Dotson also has been practicing full, so he should be good to go at left guard for the Colts game, which is good news there.
Yeah, I guess the only really thing that will happen, well, a few things. I would think that there's going to be at least an elevation or two on Saturday, and then either today or tomorrow, I think the roster exemption for Vince Williams ends. So they'll have to see, is Ulysses Gilbert going back to the IR?
Right.
You have to wonder, somebody has got to come off this roster here to make room for Vince Williams. And I'm not quite sure who that will be at this given moment. You would think it potentially would be a linebacker, and especially if one's an inside linebacker, especially if one's not healthy, and if you have a guy like T. Gray Scales, who knows? I think I don't know how many times it's been COVID related and not COVID related for T. Gray Scales. So maybe this is the final one. Maybe there'll actually be some sort of finality of promotion to the roster. But once again, if he goes promoted, signed to the actual 53-man roster, then somebody's got to come off for him. So it makes sense that you have an elevation for him. You have an obviously the exemption ends for Vince Williams. Maybe you see a guy like UG3 unfortunately go back to IR again.
Yeah, we'll have to see. Certainly a corresponding move will have to be made to officially put Williams on the 53. We'll let you know about that whenever that news comes along. For the Colts, I think they're a healthier team right now. I know tight end Jack Doyle was added with a quad injury yesterday. Receiver Marcus Johnson may not go this week, but they don't really seem to have any significant injuries, so they're in a pretty good spot overall here for a Week 16 game.
Seems to be following all the Colt beat writers and all. Seems like the only Jack Doyle is the only one of concern when it comes to them. And obviously he was a bit of a surprise when he showed up on the injury report on Thursday there with that quad injury. I don't know. They got tight end city over there.
Yeah, they're going to be fine without Doyle. They got Mo Cox, Trey Burton. They're okay.
And I'm a huge Jack Doyle, you know that too. Over the years, I'm a huge Jack Doyle fan for kind of that one of that last breed of that all around kind of player. Obviously, I think known a little bit more for his blocking skills than he is a pass catcher or whatnot. But huge Jack Doyle stan, and we'll have to see what happens with him over the weekend there. But as you mentioned, that tight end city over there, I think they're going to be fine.
All right, Dave, let's jump to the coordinator's corner. Randy Fichtner, Keith Butler.
We got some stuff to talk about here.
We do, and you can lead it however you would like to lead it. But to me, one of the more notable comments that was made by either guy was Randy Fichtner talking about play action and how that really relates to Ben, and really didn't say anything that was a shocker of urgent news to us at least, but he did kind of confirm the things we've talked about where, Fichtner said they want to incorporate more play action, but he also has to take into consideration Ben's comfort level and, the downsides to working under center and play action and turning it back to the quarterback and not having the comforts that the playing out of the gun gives you in terms of just being able to see the whole field and not have to worry about getting away from center and stuff like that. So interesting kind of comments there where Fichtner basically almost literally said that if they're going to run more play action, which they did versus the Bengals, that's going to mean taking Ben out of his comfort zone.
Where have we heard that before, Alex?
And then we've talked about that quite a bit on the podcast.
Yeah, and you've talked quite a bit about him having, him possibly not having the comfort level of having his back turned to the defense. And Laura, it feels like we've talked about this for 3 years.
Yeah, I've said the number one reason why they don't run play action, and they haven't done it under Haley or Fichtner, is because Ben just is not comfortable with it, does not like it.
And there we go. So kudos to you and us, and for talking about it for getting confirmation on this. Look, there had to be a reason, right? And especially because you go back and you look at now, obviously further back than 3 or 4 years ago, back when the dinosaurs ruled the world, when Ben would actually be under center a little bit more and run the play. He was. Man, you want to talk about some of the shot plays that they've had off of that kind of stuff, and out of heavy personnel at that, 2 tight ends, 2 wide receiver kind of stuff, or maybe occasionally a fullback or something like that. Ben, you go back and look at the old numbers on play action, and Ben, especially when he's under center, it makes you wonder why he hasn't been using it more. And our suspicions are confirmed. And you know what? He's going to have to just bite the bullet and just do it, because that's what this and boy, the comments I still get on Twitter, Alex. Oh, you can't run play action without a running game.
Yeah. Old habits die hard.
Right. That is that's like an old wives' tale, when it comes to that kind of stuff. It couldn't be further from the truth. Analytics and the tape actually back that up, that you don't need a running game. Now look, does having a semblance of a running game maybe even strengthen even more your ability to play action? The numbers don't even really bear that out, to be honest with you, if you look at the stats. But with that, you obviously would like to have a better running game. To maybe if there was the ability to strengthen a play action, that would be fine. But the fact of the matter is that it's totally independent, and that human nature is for defenders to bite on a potential run fake, and especially if a quarterback is under center. Correct?
Sure, it's all about, I wouldn't even call it human nature. It's just reading keys. I mean, if you get a run key, if you get a low hat read, you're going to play run, because that's what you're taught to do, regardless of how good or bad the opponent is at running the football. If you get a run key, you play it like it's the run.
We've seen already a few times just in recent games them do well. Look, the play a couple of games ago against the Buffalo Bills, the one explosive play that they had in the game was off of play action, and it was the Edmonds kid taking a step forward and rubbing off his own man off of Juju on a quick underneath crosser. So those kind of things can help the short catch and run game, if you will, with the Steelers, in addition to opening up some shot plays. Now, if you do use that play action and Ben under center, it'd probably be advisable to maybe try to do so a few times with the 2 tight ends or a fullback on the field. It just gives the more of the ability, the more threat, I think, of a run game. Heck, we've only seen, Derek Watt's only been on the field, I think, for 49 offensive plays, Alex, 49. Mm-hmm. And how many of those was he actually lined up in the backfield as a fullback on? Not many.
Right. I mean, obviously, some of that has been because of his health.
Right, right.
He's missed quite a bit of time, but point taken.
They need to get, obviously, back to more play action and not just out. We saw some out of the pistol. If that's got to be the go-between, less shotgun, more pistol, as opposed to under center with Ben using the shotgun, okay, we'll take it, right?
Right. Yeah. I mean, I don't mean to sound too cocky here, but I've been calling for pistol for a long time. I think even Mike Munchak called for it a couple of years ago when he was still with Pittsburgh. And I think that is the perfect medium where it still gets Ben away from center, where he sees the field a little bit better, but creates a downhill run action and allows more play action. And they ran quite a bit of it against the Bengals. And just overall, they ran quite a bit of play action versus Cincinnati. 19.5% of their dropbacks were play action. against the Bengals, and that includes the second half where they really didn't run play action because you were down and trailing and playing catch up. Their seasonal average before the Bengals game on play action was 9.4% of the time, so about 10% more in that Bengals game. Again, even the context of they were down, more play action, and so you're seeing this team trying to do it more, probably 3 or 4 years too late, but hopefully that continues to at least some increased degree.
I would agree, and the way the kind of yes, period. And if you're going to have we'll see what they do with the running backs this week with Benny Snell, and there's been a lot of Benny Snell compliments this past week, and Randy gave another nice one on Thursday when he talked to the media, but. There seems to out of everybody's mouth is, oh, by the way, James Conner's coming back this week. So I'm not very convinced it's just going to be the Benny Snell show throughout this thing. I wish it would. I'd like to see another full game with Benny Snell being able to being the bell cow, if you will. I've got a funny feeling though it's going to be a kind of a mix of both here and. I hope they're doing it for the right reasons and not to hurt James Conner's feelings, But I think Benny has deserved at least another full game opportunity as long as he holds on to the football, and I think that's something that Randy made sure to highlight. When he talked to me, that he's holding on to the football, and that's been kind of one of the bugaboos with Benny. But I firmly believe, and I've said this several times since the kid was drafted, he is a guy that around touch 10 or so, he seems to start getting it in gear there too. And to get to touch number 10, you got to have 1 through 9. The last time, I'll take my shoes off here for some Christmas math here, but. Look, if you want to maybe get James Conner in there on some certain third down situations, that's fine. I'm not a fan of doing the every third series here, albeit I think that's what we're set the stage is set for here. What happens if you go a couple 3 and outs here early in this game? I feel that you're going to be getting a guy like Snell out of that rhythm and out of potentially being effective, getting him into that groove, if you will, by the time halftime rolls around. And the best chance this team's going to have, look, the Colts, we'll talk a little bit more later in the show. This Colts offense isn't overly prolific, if you will, but they're good enough that part of the game plan here should be Phillip Rivers can't hurt us, and those running backs can't hurt us if they're not on the field. So ball possession, I think, is going to be key in this. But wrapping us all the way back around to the play action here, we need to see more of it. And then I think we need to see more of Benny Snell carrying the football, and they need to try to, as best as they can, force themselves to stay within some semblance of a running game early, just to keep Ben from having to drop back 41 times in this game.
Right. Yeah. The last point I would make about play action is that, the uncomfortableness of play action is not unique to Ben. So I don't want to single him out in that sense. I don't think every quarterback would prefer to work out a shotgun and then play action, turn your back to a defense, stuff like that. That's why the college system is almost exclusively shotgun. But despite that uncomfortableness, I am as equally or more so uncomfortable about the overall production or lack thereof for the offense. And so you're going to have to just, like you said, just deal with it and run play action, even if it's not Ben's favorite thing in the world.
Yeah. Boy, I know your ears perked up when you heard Randy say that, though, didn't you?
Yeah,
and no, this is not Randy throwing Ben. Don't hand me the things are going bad, so now Randy's throwing Ben up underneath the bus.
Right.
No, that's not the way you should be interpreted. A lot of people, look, we're good at putting the quotes out on Twitter and all like that, but quotes don't add context, right? And fortunately, we're in a situation where we get the actual videos of the coordinators at some point on Thursday or whenever they speak to them, and we can actually get the full context of what's saying. None of this is Randy throwing Ben up underneath the bus here. These are things and questions that Alex and I have been calling for to be asked for quite a while now, and I someone should be grateful that we're getting 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 a lot of answers here.
Yeah, no, Fichtner, as we said, has no ego. I mean, I don't think he's ever thrown anybody under the bus. Usually he's the one, falling on the sword whenever it has to. So, yeah, I don't think he was doing anything. So this was part of a very long answer that Fichtner had about just the offense being too predictable and how you kind of, diversify the offense a bit. So this was not like Fichtner unprompted or very early, came out with his statement about Ben. So it was just part of a long answer about how to improve the offense overall.
Right.
Anything else from Fichtner that he talked about that you want to touch on, Dave?
Just another thing that we've talked about, that got to have those chunk plays down the field, right? It's okay to do the catch short and run long. We've talked about that quite a bit, but one of the things that I've been saying all season is you still have to have the ability to complete the football down the field more than 15 yards down the field at that. And you've got to be able to have, not only the explosive plays, which is 20 yards or more, but 40 or more,
Mm-hmm.
Or in that area. You've got to be able to flip the field with chunk plays, and we just have not seen enough of that. And obviously, we talked quite a bit about Roethlisberger and being one of 13 or 1 of 14 on throws 10 or more yards down the field. That kind of stuff's not going to cut it. And I think Randy, has made that clear that they're trying to push the football down the field more. They understand that as much as they like to catch and run to get chunk plays, sometimes you're not going to get it enough of them that way. You've got to be able to push the football down the field, and unless they start showing that they can do that in these final few games, then it's hard to envision the offense pulling their that weight that they need to pull, especially when you get into the playoffs.
The part that was at least mildly annoying to me, and I don't know if I should really fault Fichtner for it, because what do you want him to do and what do you want him to say? But he just keeps saying, we practiced the deep ball yesterday, we're working on it, and I feel like we hear that every single week, and we've yet to see really any improvement in that area. If anything's been a regression in that area. And so again, I mean, you have to work on it. You don't have a choice if it's not working, and hopefully you get it fixed. But it's growing a little tired of just we're working on it. We're working on it. We practiced it. Like I hope you're practicing it. I want to see some results.
Well, the thing is, they don't practice it on Wednesday. We know that, or whatever the first day of the week is, right?
True.
Because Ben doesn't work on those days, and
mm-hmm.
I understand the whole. Well, the good thing about it is we get the other quarterbacks practice time and yada yada. Okay, yeah, that all sounds good in theory, but
it doesn't help you on Sundays.
no, it doesn't. And then if for some reason Ben, we've seen it in the past, Ben not be able to work on Thursday or half a day or whatever. It just that kind of stuff needs repetition. The timing, and I thought it was interesting too. Randy running down kind of the skill sets of the players, of the wide receivers.
Yeah, he talked about Claypool being, the fastest guy, the vertical guy, and Juju more the intermediate stuff. Although I would argue they're not using him intermediate; it's really been shallow and short. But and they talked about, of course, Deontay being kind of the catch short, run long kind of guy.
Right. And, he talked about James Washington, the different style of deep throws that they need to make to get to. He talked about how basically James Washington is not going to probably separate at the top of deep routes. He's more of a go up and get it kind of deep ball guy. As opposed to Claypool, who can kind of separate, and how
mm-hmm.
Ben had, and that's just another thing. Those kind of things you're not going to be able to work on a Wednesday and on. And obviously Claypool's new. A deep ball to Claypool probably needs to be on out. How many times have we seen kind of Claypool kind of underthrown? Now look, he showed at Notre Dame that he can make those kind of catches though, but really only once this season, maybe twice, have we seen him catch one in stride, and one of those was against Denver, early in the season there, and the other one was really kind of, he better catch it because he had beaten the linebacker by about 10 yards down the field on top of it there. So, look, they got to get this deep passing game worked out, and You go back and look at, I pulled up Ben's 5 longest air yard throws throughout his career. He's not getting anywhere close to that these days. I think those days are gone.
Yeah, long gone.
When it comes to him, but you've got to figure out some timing issues or whatever you need to do. Whether it be stop throwing so much on the outside the numbers, more so on the inside numbers. But they got to get the deep ball going again. Period.
I'm glad you brought up that point about Fichtner and comparing and contrasting Washington versus Claypool and the deep ball. Let me read here the brief excerpt of what Fichtner said. He says, quote, "James is that guy that has great vertical leaps, has great body control. We probably don't want to overthrow him because I don't know that last step will be there to finish the play, but Chase Claypool has that last step." And so basically saying that, Claypool has that extra gear to lay out basically for anything overthrown, whereas you said Washington's more of a go up, get it, combat catch vertical type of guy, which makes sense. Claypool ran, 4.4 something coming out, and Washington was like a 4.5 kind of a guy. So it tracks with, what we've talked about before with those guys.
Absolutely.
All right. I think that's probably good from Fichtner, although he did say, and maybe this was just humoring the question of it, but Fichtner was asked, do you feel like the offense is pressing? And then Fichtner immediately turned that to Ben and said, quote, "If you're talking about Ben in general, maybe as a group you feel the pressure of it." And I know that is to say someone's pressing is, it's hard to possibly really quantify, but I did get that feeling, at least against the Bengals, that Ben was pressing a bit, and that was creating some of the mistakes and poor reads and just bad decision making that we saw in that game.
Yeah, it certainly felt like it, right? What did you think about the responses, not only from Ben but from Randy, on the two particular plays that he did not throw to Claypool? The one being the juju across the middle that ended up being a catch and fumble, and the other one was the hospital ball to Ebron. Now that we have poured over the all 22 on that, what did you think about those two plays specifically and the responses from both Ben and Randy related to him?
Well, whenever I first broke the play down to Ebron, the one he got hurt on, I really didn't fault Ben that much for not throwing to Claypool. I know a lot of people did, but middle of the field closed, Jesse Bates out there. I wasn't mad at the decision to throw to Ebron. I just thought the throw was late and poor and just bad ball placement. The play to Juju that he got rocked on that had Claypool open, I get what Ben is saying. These decisions get made so quickly, but man, I mean, that was, I think, the more right play to criticize than the throw to Ebron, where Claypool really was open. I mean, Claypool's guy came under Juju to take away the crosser. Juju's basically bracketed at that point. I don't think he can make that throw. Even taking Claypool being open out of it, just Juju himself was not open on that play, and so you can't throw it to Juju there. Okay, but what about the
one that was thrown to Juju on the underneath crosser?
Yeah, with Claypool being open, that one, right, the one he fumbled on, is that the play you're referencing?
Right.
Yeah. I mean, Claypool was open. I think you got to hit that. Juju's not open, even just in a vacuum. Is Juju the right read on that play with the lurk safety coming down and the cornerback trailing? No. So even if you say that, I came off my read of Claypool, Juju's not open on that play.
All right. Well, my it is more about, I think most of the focus has been on Claypool on those plays.
Right, and I think he should have hit Claypool on the throw he made to Juju.
Okay, and the one on Ebron?
I'm much more forgivable of that, because I think honestly that was a right read from Ben's in the moment situation. It was just a poor throw.
Okay.
Was that in your interpretation of those?
More so on I think the Claypool should have been hit on the Juju one, specifically. Mm-hmm. As far as the ball, I just didn't think it was a right read any way you slice it on Ebron. But
so you would have thrown to Claypool instead of Ebron on that play? I
think so, or try to extend the play or something.
Yeah, the problem was it was a 2-man route on that play action, so you kind of felt like you had limited options. But yeah, it is tough, and obviously quarterbacks, they got to make decisions in split seconds, and it's a lot easier to look back and pause and frame by frame this stuff than do it live. So
right. Anyway, plus the time's ticking. He wants to get the ball out. Right. All those kind of things as well too.
Let's flip over to Keith Butler, also talking with media via a Zoom call yesterday. Probably less interesting from Butler than Fichtner. Obviously, he's happy to get Vince Williams back and just the energy and communication and tone setting type stuff that Vince Williams brings. Anything else that Butler said that you want to touch on, Dave?
You got he keeps trying to say, look, you got to, and we talked about this. It'd been nice to not give up a 7 instead of a 3 on one of those against Cincinnati. But look, those short changes, those quick changes and all, for the most part this season, the defense has done good in those few instances there. The biggest sins, once again, the last 2 games was that 7-something minute drive, against the Bills late in that game, and then that long 70-something yard drive, whatever it was, 9 plays against the Bengals there when they really, really needed to stop there. I'm not so concerned about this deal. I don't think you are either. Sure, you'd like to handle some of these quarterback runs better. Some of these mobile quarterbacks, and if you get into playoffs and depending on who you play in the first round, if you win that game, you're going to face some sort of situation with a mobile quarterback the further you go through this thing, and especially if you get to a guy like Mahomes, which seems like light years away at this point, right? I'm not so concerned about the defense. I think it'll be a huge, and I wrote about this yesterday, all these comments about Vince coming back and all. I think it'll be a huge shot in the arm to have a guy like Vince back in there, especially this week against a team that likes to run the football in the Colts there. But I'm less concerned about the defense than I am the offense right now.
Yeah, I think everyone agrees with that, myself included. Yeah, you're right. I mean, everyone talks about the value of Vince and how great it's going to be to have him back, and that's obviously part of the context of, you don't have Bush, you don't have Robert Spillane, so you really want to get one of those guys back. But not to go down this rabbit hole, but you hear these comments about Vince and the value he brings. I know there's a financial side you just can't deny, but man, it would really suck if they had to cut Vince this offseason.
Yeah, we'll see what kind of impact having him back, but just the communication factor and look, you'd rather have all 11 guys on the wrong page, right?
Yeah, as opposed to the old saying of if one guy's wrong, let's all be wrong, and
right.
whatever the cliche is.
Well, the one thing about Vince Williams is, look, probably 95% of the time he's going to get you where you need to be, and at least the other 5% of the time he's going to have everybody in the wrong situation, which can sometimes work out in your favor as well too. So definitely a leader. You can tell you can tell how much respect they have for him. It's just the athletic ability with him. More so out in space right now and really that's been the thing with him from the day he's been drafted. But his physicality, his wherewithal, him being in that, who knows that defense better than he does right now? I would say nobody, and that includes Cameron Hayward right now.
Right, and yet they don't give him the green dot, which I just is my own personal hill to die on, but never understood that.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. What is your opinion of what's going to happen against the Colts? Do you think they're just going to go ahead and stay with Avery Williamson wearing it?
I do, because they haven't given it to Vince, so I don't really see that changing now, especially as Williamson's played more snaps and got more experience in this defense.
I'm with you with predicting that's what's going to happen. But on the positive side, the Colts tend to run a lot of heavy stuff, right? So we could see that base defense out there of the Steelers quite a bit, and I think that kind of plays into the Steelers' favor a little bit, when being able to get Vince on the field.
Sure, yeah, they'll have no shortage of getting Vince on the field against the Colts. There's no question about that. All right, Dave. Anything else from the coordinators? I think that was it. Yeah, Butler regaled of stories about knowing Philip Rivers' dad growing up, and talked about the difficulty of playing him. But that's probably a good time to transition into our preview of this Colts game. 10-4 Colts, 3-game winning streak, facing a Pittsburgh Steelers team on a 3-game losing streak. Let's start with that Colts offense and Philip Rivers, who's having a really strong year. His first year with Indy. Second highest completion percentage of his career, lowest sack rate of his career. I think the only quarterback who gets sacked less often than Ben has been Philip Rivers. So this is a good offense. It's playing some really impressive football right now.
the thing is they've been efficient on both sides of the football, and I think the other element that kind of sticks out with me, especially when it comes to the offensive side of football, is Phillip Rivers has been around, I think, the 50% mark on deep throws more than 15 yards down the field. So even though they are primarily a get the ball out quick offense, right? For the most part, they are unlike the Steelers, they are able to connect on deep shots, and that brings balance to that unit. And they, you get the guy like T.Y. Hilton, they love to throw to him down the middle of the field, right? I mean, they're not afraid to go shot plays, especially with him down the middle of the field. And you see certain instances where, and I think we just saw this recently. I forget which team it was against, but you damn sure don't. If T.Y. Hilton, you don't want to play any Tampa 2 against that guy and have a linebacker be in an unfortunate situation where you have to carry a guy like T.Y. Hilton down the middle of the field. I think it was the Texans that did that there. If you get yourself in a situation, and make no mistake about it, we've seen certain situations where the Steelers are forced to send linebackers out to cover in space. You don't want him to be one of them. That you send out, and I imagine at some point during this game, whether it be Hilton or someone else, maybe one of their, Mo Alley Cox or something like that, or Naheem Hines, he leads them in receiving this year.
He does in receptions, yeah.
In receptions. So they're going to try to present this. They will try to personnel you into a situation that you don't want to be in, and there will be 3 or 4 times during this game, whether it be. And don't think they didn't watch some of that Dallas game as well too, to see getting T.J. Watt maybe potentially lined up on somebody on an out and up or something along those lines. So when you get into a situation where you're trying to defend that kind of stuff, that will probably be one of the toughest chores for the Steelers defense on Sunday is defending against a heavy personnel that puts you in some bad matchup situations there, I think. But once again, they are a team. They run a lot of the same stuff that the Steelers run. A lot of the split zone stuff. They obviously, with Quentin Nelson, they'll run the power stuff. They're not afraid to use play action. They're not afraid to put Phillip Rivers up under center. They're not afraid to just run the straight out inside zone type stuff, and they've got an athletic enough offensive line. I don't know how many times I saw them actually do it, but there are some outside zone elements I think they'll run as well too, and they'll try to stretch your defense sideline to sideline that way. So I think Frank Reich has done an excellent job with that offense. Look. Phillip Rivers is no dummy, right? If he gets pressure, he'll just dump it right into the ground. He will not. He's not a guy that makes a lot of bad decisions, in my opinion. So when and if he does make a bad decision in this game, you've got to be able to take advantage of it.
I agree with everything you said. I think overall, offense and defense, this game will be decided by who wins the middle of the field more. And the Colts have some really good type players for that area on offense. Their tight ends, Mo Alley Cox, former basketball player, Trey Burton, athletic tight end, Hines, one of 2 running backs in football to lead their team in receptions, Alvin Kamara, the Saints, the other. Hines is what Jalen Samuels was supposed to be when the Steelers drafted him. NC State teammates, and Hines certainly the better player. He's going to be a headache on angle routes, on option routes, screenplays, stuff like that. And I think just overall, broadly, when I look at this Colts offense, Dave, I look at a team that really is fundamentally sound, takes care of the football. They've only turned the football over 12 times this season. That's their fewest in football. Their turnover differential is plus 12. That's tied with Tennessee for the best mark in football. Keith Butler talked about how this defense needs to take away the football more. They haven't done that in recent weeks. They have 2 turnovers in their last 3 games, both of those coming against Buffalo. It's going to be really hard to take the football away against a Colts team that protects the football really well. They fumbled on run plays 1 time this year. Jonathan Taylor had some fumble issues at Wisconsin. He's only fumbled once this whole season. So they're just a team that does not beat themselves. And Pittsburgh right now is searching to try to create and get back to making some of those splash plays.
And look, and once again, I think Phillip Rivers is willing to take the sack. All right, so sacks. Either you're going to have about 7, 8, or 9 sacks in this game.
It's not going to happen. It's been sacked 14 times all year.
Which is unlikely to happen, or you're going to have to find a way to take the football away, and that's one thing that this team didn't do. You can't lose the turnover war in this one, plain and simple, because they're probably going to lose the explosive play war. So if you lose the explosive play war, and if you lose the turnover battle, what else do you have?
I think it's the opposite. I don't know if you win the turnover battle because the Colts are so good at it. I think you have to win the explosive play battle.
Well, I think you've got to win the turnover battle in this one. So
I mean, I hope so, but I think it's gonna be tough to do just because the Colts, they take the football away defensively and they really protect it well offensively.
Well, here's the thing. It goes back to one thing that you just said when running that down there. Jonathan Taylor, who you would think that he's had a couple recent games here and all. I remember specifically writing about him during the pre-draft process because a lot of Steeler fans wanted the team to draft him. If there's one thing that kid that has a black mark on him about, it's his ability to hold on to the football. So hello, Cam Sutton. Hello, some of those other guys have done a good. You've got to rip at that football with him while make sure you don't miss the tackle on him, because if you do, he'll go the other 40 yards on you there. But I think a concerted effort at ripping the football out of the hands of Jonathan Taylor needs to be made, because we have seen that, and we've seen that even happen on him going back at Wisconsin after he's at the tail end of him making a run, 20 yards, 10, 15 yards down the field, that football coming out there. So I think that's got to be, I think you got to show that tape to those guys on defense here in those meeting rooms throughout the week and let them know you got to rip that football loose from Jonathan Taylor. And really I think Nyheim Hines, Hines has had a little bit of a problem with that as well too. So I'm going to call my shot here. There's going to be at least 1 or 2 turnovers in this game from one of those running backs.
I hope so. But I think that the Colts maybe did something with Jonathan Taylor's ball security, his carriage of the football, because, again, he's only fumbled it once all season, and he's carried the ball upwards of 200 times, I think. So, I mean, even and you're right, he had big issues at Wisconsin with the fumbles, but they seem to have at least corrected that in the NFL. So I want them to take away the football away for sure. But again, they seem like they're doing a great job of focusing on that stuff, correcting that stuff, and they just don't put the ball on the ground a whole lot.
Right.
All right, Dave. Anything else with the Colts offense? T.Y. Hilton, Zach Pascal is an underrated. They got some deep threats on this team. They got like 5 guys who average more than, I think, 13 yards per catch. And so they have some guys that can really get vertical on you.
Absolutely. Look, I mean, here's the thing. They are an efficient offense, plain and simple. Yeah. Now, the other aspect that I think you hit on in the post about recapping and scouting their offense, and one thing that has stuck out to me in the several games that I've watched over the course of the last few weeks, just from the sheer aspect that the Steelers weren't playing on a Sunday, and so we're afforded the opportunity to watch the upcoming opposition. There is they have no issue putting Jacoby Brissett in the game in all types of situations, whether it be red zone, whether it be we need a quarterback sneak, whether it be we need a Hail Mary.
Right.
Phillip Rivers is a team first guy. He doesn't seem to be perturbed at all to come off the field in those situations there. And I think the Colts have been smart in the different thing. And here's the thing: they are not afraid to run their traditional offense when Jacoby Brissett comes onto the field. So that means that if you're in a short yardage type situation where you think, look out for Jacoby Brissett here, he'll go down the field on you. He'll throw the football down the field. He's got a good arm, and all. So the Steelers defense has had problems in the past preparing maybe for one quarterback, and especially in a situations where the starter might be out and they're dealing with like a number 2 or number 3. You damn sure better prepare this week for 2 quarterbacks, because you're going to see both of them in this game.
Yeah, you've heard of short yardage running backs. How about short yardage quarterbacks? Brissett has 3 touchdowns this year, rushing touchdowns, all from 1 or 2 yards. 2 of them were sneaks. One was an option play, and he'll come in end the half, end the game for Hail Mary type stuff. And a guy that ran their offense last year started a lot for them, so he's capable of doing that if they need to for whatever reason. And this team, there was one play against Buffalo, and I meant to tweet this out. I saw it late in the week. It was a 3rd and 1, fourth quarter, quarterback sneak for Josh Allen, and the Steelers left the A gap, both A gaps, or not, the A gap wide open, where there was no defensive tackle in that gap, and there was no linebacker in that gap. It was some sort of 10 tech, and so that's just the little stuff you got to worry about. The fundamental things this defense does still have to work on, and certainly Brissett's a guy that can take the football in short yardage situations, so you better plug up those A gaps whenever he's in the game.
Absolutely.
All right, Dave, let's flip over to the Colts defense. And again, just a really well-coached unit. Their DC, and I don't really know how to pronounce his last name, but Matt Eberflus. I don't know how to say it, but either way, he's doing a great job with those guys over there. It starts with their front four, DeForest Buckner, Justin Houston. They got 3 guys with 7.5 sacks, or one of 3 teams in football with 3 guys with at least 7.5 sacks, Pittsburgh being one of the other 3. And that front is where it starts. It really worries me, Buckner in particular, with how big and long he is, batting down passes, getting and throwing lanes, stuff like that. Darius Leonard, great in the middle as for Mike linebacker, and I think a really underrated secondary led by a guy like Kenny Moore, who reminds me a ton of Mike Hilton. Is probably what Mike Hilton's agent is going to use as leverage in the offseason.
Absolutely, because that guy got paid, $7-8 million a couple years ago now?
Mm-hmm. And leads the team with 4 picks this year.
Right, and boy, did you see the one he got against the Raiders?
Yeah, it's the headline of my article there, that one-handed snag on Waller, too. Moore's not a big guy, but again, very much like Hilton, plays a lot bigger than he looks.
Right, physical player as well, too. So absolutely, T.Y. Hill, that guy is that guy is probably the most comparable to did I say T.Y. Hilton? Mike Hilton. Most comparable to Mike Hilton as there is in the league, and it's just one more reason why you have to think a guy like Mike Hilton is set to get paid this upcoming offseason from a team other than the Steelers, because of that kind of play. You got to know where that guy is on the field at all times. Now, look, when you look at their secondary as a whole, Rock Ya-Sin has had his problems, has he not?
He has. You're right.
That's the guy that I think you got to kind of go after there. Now, the other Rhodes on the other corner. On the other side there, kind of more of a big physical guy, if you will. But even he's not been perfect in some situations. He has the potential to blow coverages. And Rock Ya-Sin has a ability to be too aggressive at times. I think overall my takeaway when looking at this Colts secondary play, and really the defense as a whole, they've got more of the old Dick LeBeau attitude, don't they not? Don't get,
in what sense?
Don't get beat deep. Give up if you're going to allow anything. Allow the underneath stuff and tackle the catch.
Yeah, from that aspect for sure. From a blitz standpoint, they're the total opposite. Only the Titans blitz less than the Colts. They really get after it with their front four only. But I would say that Rhodes is playing much better this year than he did last year in Minnesota. He was brutal last year for the Vikings, and he's kind of revived his career a bit with the Colts this year. Ya-Sin might be the guy to go after. Potential almost Steeler, Rock Ya-Sin. I remember that report. The Steelers were going to draft him,
right?
Had they not traded up for Devin Bush, and so who knows what would have happened there. Temple kid.
people be doing the reverse Cobra, I think, right now.
But yeah, it's a secondary defense that plays a lot of split coverages. They'll run man to the backside, the X receiver, then play zone to the trip side and stuff like that. So you're not always going to get the same look on both sides. Man zone. I think they do run a decent amount of Tampa too. So if there's a week to attack the intermediate, deep middle of the field, this is probably the week. Try to split those safeties, because when the middle of the field's closed and cover 1, cover 3, it's really hard to make plays on post routes and dig routes and stuff like that. So I think maybe this is the week to really attack the middle of the field.
Can the Eric Ebron do that? Can Ben Roethlisberger
play? I assume he'll play, but
it would be a bad week not to have Eric Ebron.
He's probably got some little chip on his shoulder too, facing his old team.
Yeah, you would think so. You would probably think he said, "Look, throw me the damn ball." I can
Throw me some
envision him.
painkillers first, and then throw me the football.
I can envision him actually saying that too. Throw me the damn ball this week. This could be a game where Eric Ebron has 9 catches for 115 yards and 2 scores. It very well could be. You just hope he's healthy enough to and that back can withstand it. If ever there was a week you would like to have a tight end along the lines of Eric Ebron, this is it. I think also. Yeah, you need to look. There are going to be opportunities, whether it be Chase or Juju. It could be another big. This could be the biggest game of the. It needs to be the biggest game of the year for Juju Smith-Schuster down the football field, right?
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. I think that Ebron, assuming he plays and Juju have to have big games. Juju's route tree has to be deeper. Now, again, he'll have a tougher matchup against Kenny Moore. I mean, who's not going to make life easy on Juju, but Juju's the bigger dude, and he's got to make some plays middle of the field. And I'm thinking this is a week you can finally hit one of those deep balls, deep posts, 30, 40 yards downfield.
I think you could have some instances down the side if you catch them in a one deep in a one deep look. Obviously, those are the deep shots that Ben likes to take down the field. Maybe you do some sort of. I would work a lot on that old James Washington on the outside kind of. Stutter and go, if you will, and that Ben, how Ben, they'll set them up. They'll run a couple of those, they'll run those wide receiver screens over to that side, right? In the first half. Look for in the second half for them to try that double move on Rock Yassin with that Ben Roethlisberger pump fake to try to get James Washington up over the top on Rock Yassin. That's one thing I would look for, maybe to try to get a chunk play and specifically a touchdown against the Colts defense here. And the other thing is once again, if you get them in that Tampa 2 look, or Ben comes out and gets a certain look, maybe kind of similar to what he got against the Eagles, where you get maybe a linebacker for some reason on the wrong guy there. You try to beat him down the middle of the field there. But there are going to be opportunities for Ben to throw the football down the middle of the field, further than 10 yards down the field, and he's got to make sure not only he takes those attempts, but he hits on a few of them in this game too. You've just got to have the explosive plays in this game. And another aspect of this as well too, because of probably the Colts, the tendency to lay back a little bit at times, I think it's okay to dump down to the running backs in this game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, especially if James Conner plays and is in there in some more passing situations. Yeah, I think for deep balls on the outside, and this is an obvious point, but whenever teams are in 2-back, full-back, running back type personnel, the Colts will play 8-man boxes, cover one single high safety. I mean, that's pretty common because you're trying to stop the run. But I think, honestly, in this game, you use a little bit of Derek Watt as that traditional I-formation fullback and run some play-action shots because you're going to get one-on-one matchups to the outside. So that is where I take my deep shots to the outside, and heavier personnel and 2-back looks, and anything else I'm trying to work the middle of the field.
Right.
Anything else from the Colts that I didn't mention or you wanted to mention? It's a good defense. It's a well-coached team overall. The Colts are a really strong bunch, and they're not going to be an easy out, even though they're playing in Pittsburgh.
The defense was stronger against the pass earlier in the season than kind of they have been as of late. In fact, now here's the thing too, and I think you hit on this as well too. They can get pressure with just 4.
Yeah, that's what they do 90% of the time.
And Russian coverage, for the most part, seem to go hand in hand on them, although their weakness is the coverage end of that Russian coverage aspect of it there. Mm-hmm. We have seen their adjusted net yards per passing attempt stat kind of slowly inch up over the season here. It sits at 6. Now overall, league wide, it's not bad. It's in the top third of the league when it comes to that aspect of it. So, don't take this as me saying they're awful, but they're not as good, I don't feel, most recently than they were during the first half of the season. Now, they got to all 4 of their front 4 guys can get after the quarterback. Maybe their sack totals aren't necessarily. Look, you're playing guys against like Deshaun Watson a couple of times in a season. Mm-hmm. Those guys are good about kind of making plays happen and avoiding the sacks there. A guy like Ben Roethlisberger is not going to be able to extend a play if he gets pressure on him. And we just saw just recently uh, uh, you know, a guy like Carl Lawson have his way with a guy like Alejandro Villanueva. Buckner is coming off of being, I think, defensive player of the week, is he not? So that guy is for real, and he's been for real for a while.
Yeah, now he'll see mostly DeCastro, I would assume, on Sunday.
Right, but they've what I'm saying is across the board, all four of those guys are able to get pressure.
Yeah, like I said, 3 guys, 3.5 or 7.5 plus sacks. That's Danico Autry, really underrated player. Buckner in Houston. Yeah, it is. I mean, again, their blitz rates, I forget what the number is, but it's like 17%, super low number. Only the Titans blitz less. So they are very old, like very much a Dungy, Tampa Bay early 2000s type defense with Simeon Rice and Warren Sapp and those guys. I mean, Derek Brooks in the middle, kind of compared to Leonard, where they play a lot of coverage. They're going to drop 7. They're going to trust their front 4 to get after it. They're not super creative in how they generate pressure. They just got a lot of talent up front to generate pressure.
Right.
All right, Dave. I think that's everything I had on the Colts. Should be a good matchup for sure. So do you want to get to our Week 16 picks and talk about the rest of the league?
Yeah, absolutely. Here, let me get some my bookie stuff pulled up. What do you think? Have you about there being one game today? How you think the ratings and all going to do on that?
I honestly forgot there was a game today. This year's been so weird. And was there a Friday game last year? Is this new?
I don't
remember. I mean, I guess it's because it's Christmas and there's always a game on Christmas. I guess it's the way the league's doing this. But I guess this year we've had Tuesday games, we had Wednesday games, and Friday game really feels like, normal to me. But yeah, I'm sure ratings will be good. I mean, it's Christmas. Everyone's staying at home. I mean, it's football. Ratings are good. You put that game 3 a.m., on a Tuesday. I mean, the ratings are going to be through the roof. So sure it'll be a good one.
All right, let's start with the game later on today. Minnesota Vikings at the New Orleans Saints. The Saints are at home, favored by 7 points.
Michael Thomas has been out. He's placed on IR. I think the Saints win. I'm going to say the Vikings cover, though. Kirk Cousins has actually been playing decent football lately.
So, in other words, this is going to be the Zimmer that stole Christmas, or close to, or steals the line, if you will. I think the Saints come out on this short week. Another week to kind of tune up Drew Brees in this one. I think the Saints cover the 7 points against the Vikings, who probably much rather be at home on Christmas Day here instead of in New Orleans. Although I have spent some Christmases or some holiday time in New Orleans in the past there. Tampa, and it's not a bad thing. Tampa at
what does that mean?
You can get in some trouble on any day, especially on the holidays in New Orleans.
I was going to make a joke, but I'm not going to make a joke.
All right. Hey, have fun at my expense if you feel like it. Let's see. We got a few games on Saturday here. Tampa Bay Buccaneers at the Detroit Lions. The Buccaneers on the road laying 10.
It's a big line, but the Lions have still been a mess even after the firing of Matt Patricia. Give me Tampa Bay.
What do you think about this the special teams coordinator going rogue?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, right. He called a fake punt and didn't tell anybody or something. That was the one that got fired. Yeah. But I endorse it as a special teams supporter. I endorse any fakes and any special teams coordinators going rogue. Danny Smith forever. Give me the Bucs.
Give me the Buccaneers to lay the 10. I'll go with you. They win big in this one. San Francisco 49ers. Weird. Not on the road, but not really on the road, right? 49ers at the Cardinals.
Like next door neighbor.
Yeah, Cardinals laying 4.5 in this one.
49ers are such a weird team to figure out because they're perpetually hurt, and so I never know who's playing for them or not. Is Kittle coming back this week? My George
I
Kittle
think he is. I think he is.
All right. Either way, give me the Cardinals.
All right, I'll do it. 49ers upset them on not on the road, not really on the road. Home away from road win, if you will. Give me the 49ers plus the 4.5 points. In a game I think a lot of people are going to be paying attention to on Saturday here, the Miami Dolphins at the Las Vegas Raiders. This is a huge game. Well, look, the Raiders are down. The Raiders have got to win out, and they got to get some help, plain and simple. And they need a lot of help. In fact, I think if certain things go wrong on Sunday, come Sunday, they could be out of it here. But the Dolphins really need to win out to hold on to that one of those final couple spots there as well too. Who's going to play quarterback for the Raiders? We don't know. Gruden trying to say that Carr's practicing with that groin. I'll believe it when I see it. When Carr plays in this game, I think they'd be smart to go with Mariota the way he played in that most recent game there. Dolphins on the road laying 3 in what should be a fun game to watch on Saturday.
Yeah, it should be. My guess is Carr is going to start over Mariota, but we'll see. Gruden's always cagey with this stuff. This is a tough one for sure. Raiders have been such an up and down team this year. I've been riding with the Raiders most of the year though, so I'll stick with them and pick Vegas.
You want to talk about Vegas has probably got the line set perfectly. This one has push written. This has Dolphins 3-point win all over it and a push. I'll put my heart's attached to this one because I want the Dolphins to win this one. Give me the Dolphins lay the 3 points in this one. The Cleveland Browns, there is a scenario where they can clinch a playoff spot this week, even if they don't clinch the AFC North. Or even if the Steelers don't clinch the AFC North, they are on the road against the Jets. The Browns are favored by 9.5.
Well, with respect to the Jets, their first win of the season, but give me the Browns.
Give me the Browns late at 9.5 as well, too. Cincinnati Bengals, who cares game, going to play the Texans on the road. The Texans favored by 7.5.
Yeah, give me the Texans here.
Give me the Texans as well, too. That brings us to the Bears at the Jaguars. The Bears on the road laying 7.5.
Games I will not be watching. I definitely want to be one of those. You said the Bears are favored by 7?
Bears are favored. They've been playing pretty decent football as of late here. Quietly, a little bit too late, I think. 7.5. Laying 7.5 on the road against Jacksonville.
The Bears win, but the Jags cover.
I'll go Bears cover the 7.5. Falcons on the road against the Kansas City Chiefs. The question is look, the Chiefs shouldn't mess this one up, you wouldn't think. But they're favored 10.5 at home.
The Falcons have been playing better defense with Raheem Morris taking over. At least I think they have. I really couldn't have played much worse. Do I want to go with the Falcons to cover here? I'll be a little crazy. I'll say the Falcons cover. Chiefs are definitely going to win, but the Falcons make it, semi-competitive.
I'll go with you on this one too, and only because I think the Falcons get kind of some sort of late garbage backdoor cover score or something like that. I think the Chiefs win. I think the Falcons cover that 10.5. Denver Broncos on the road against the Los Angeles Chargers. The Chargers laying 3 at home against the Broncos.
Man, Chargers so much team with potential. Just been such a mess situation. You're talking about bad special teams play. I mean, the Chargers are king of it. But anyway, give me the Chargers here.
I'll take the Chargers at home against the Broncos as well to lay that 3 points here. In what should be a very entertaining game, Los Angeles Rams at the Seattle Seahawks. Seahawks favored by 1 point here.
Yeah, Rams coming off that tough loss to the Jets. That Rams defense, though, is better. The Seahawks defense has not been good this year. I say the Rams bounce back in a big way and get the win here.
I'm with you. I think the Rams win this one outright, and thus I will take that 1 point with you. Give me the Rams straight up here. Philadelphia Eagles at the Dallas Cowboys. Boy, they're all excited about Jalen Hurts right now. Eagles on the road against the Cowboys, laying 2.5.
Yeah, Hurts has been playing awesome, and maybe that's just quote-unquote beginner's luck or not enough tape or whatever you want to ascribe it to, but Hurts has been playing really well, so give me the Eagles.
All right, give me Dallas to upset the Eagles at home here, so I want that 2.5 points here. Tennessee at the Green Bay Packers in another entertaining game. Packers at home laying 3.
Been a big fan of Green Bay all year. I think it's underrated defense. Obviously, Aaron Rodgers, Aaron Jones, Devontae Adams, a lot of weapons. Their tight end, Tanyan, has 10 scores this year.
How did he not make the Pro Bowl? That's
right. Yeah, for sure. Give me Green Bay.
Give me Green Bay. Give me Green Bay to cover this one as well, too. Buffalo Bills on the road against the New England Patriots. Bills laying 7.5.
I'm sure Steelers fans shed many tears for the Patriots being eliminated from playoff contention last week. I'm sure you and I first did that. Anyway, yeah, give me Buffalo. I think they're a really strong team overall, and maybe do the Bills pose the best threat to the Chiefs in a playoff scenario? I don't know, but they're a good team.
They could definitely push the football down the field, which I think you have to be able to do. And but with that, Bill Belichick always seems to have a good scheme against them. I think the Bills win this one, but give me the Patriots to cover this. So give me I want the 7.5 points on this one.
And well, Belichick usually has had a good quarterback with that good scheme.
True.
So, but I hear you.
There's a lot of rumblings, or at least there was, I should say a lot this morning, it seemed, about on some of these talk shows that I'm seeing about Carson Wentz. Do you think Bill Belichick could use a quarterback and make something out of a quarterback in Carson Wentz?
If anyone's going to do it, it's probably him. It's just the logistics of that contract is just.
I know, but they tried to come up with ways that Wentz would give back money and
he ain't giving back money.
People ain't in no business of giving back no damn money.
Right.
But what if they cut him outright?
I guess they could. I mean, I think the most popular, maybe the most feasible thing is like the Brock Osweiler deal, where you basically are trading picks to dump the salary, the way that happened with the Osweiler contract. So that's probably your best way to move Wentz at this point. But it'll be interesting for sure. I'm glad I don't have to be a fan of that team trying to navigate those waters.
Will Wentz be on their Week 1 roster, the Eagles?
Oh, man.
That's a great question, ain't it?
It's a great question.
I'm going
to say no. I'm going to say they find a way to deal, and I think the situation is too toxic right now. I think for Hurts to succeed, if you have this constant rumblings about Wentz and the status there, it's just not a good situation for a young quarterback to be in. So I think they find a way to move him.
I don't think he's there one way or the other. Whether they just bite the bullet, it doesn't set up to be good to have a quarterback making that kind of money, being on the bench. Nothing good can come out of that behind a young kid. And obviously, these last couple of games, they're trying to find out as much as they can about Jalen Hurts and all. So interesting there. All right, that brings us to the Indianapolis Colts at the Pittsburgh Steelers here. This line started off, I think, right after the Bengals game, or right during the Bengals game, as the Steelers being like 3-point favorites. Boy, the money jumped ship quick there. Right now, we're looking at it with the Steelers being home dogs by 1.5, meaning the Colts are favored by 1.5. What do you have on this one?
When was the last time Pittsburgh were home dogs? When they played the Patriots in 2018?
I'll have to look that up. That's quite possible.
I mean, it's far and few between, I'm sure. But don't mean to sound like the Grinch here, but I think people know where I'm going to head with this one. Given how poorly the Pittsburgh's played, they got to show that they can play just good football overall versus any team, much less a very talented team like the Colts, who don't beat themselves. They don't turn the football over. That's what Pittsburgh's searching for right now. The Colts, they have a good defensive line, good pass rush. Buckner really scares me up front. The run game strong. The run defense is really good. And so I don't know if Pittsburgh will have the same success on the ground against the Colts as they did versus the Bengals. Long story short, I have the Colts winning this one 21-17, Indy.
Wow. Look, you got to show me now. And I think you're in that boat as well. You got to show me. I mean, there's no reason that they should have lost to that Bengals team,
nope.
At all. And until they show that they can start putting some points back on the board offensively, and then once again, one of the biggest chores is for the defense this week to. The defense is going to have to play a huge part in winning this game. Obviously, it's got to be one of those we hold them to 16 to 17 points, and not only that, I think the defense has got to go above and beyond and provide the offense with a short field or two, and that's very tough to do against this Colts team. I have I'm locked in the corner here. People, you're not a Steelers fan. Well, I am a Steelers fan, but I'm also a realistic one on top of it here. I think that I got to be shown. I got to be shown that they can win again. Give me the Colts on the road against the Steelers, winning this one 23-20.
It's a crazy sentence to say. But it's accurate to say we got to see the Steelers team win for an 11-win team. But with the way they're playing right now, I agree with you. They got to show it first.
Now, can they win? Is this a winnable Steelers game? Absolutely, it is. But once again, I don't think you're going to win it like 31-27 or something like that. I think if the Steelers do win this game, it's something along the lines of like 20-16 or something like that. Can the defense get enough stops? Can the Steelers not turn the football over? True or false? The Steelers will lose this game if they turn the football over even once. Probably true because right?
Because how many takeaways do you expect to get off the Colts? I mean, if you get one, it feels like that the Colts have not turned the football over in 3 straight games. So if you get one, that's almost a minor miracle in itself. If you turn the football over yourself, then you're +0, you're 0 in the turnover differential. Yeah, I'll put it this way: if the Steelers defense can't generate a single turnover, then I think it's gonna be really hard to win this game.
What will our collective Borg thoughts be on Monday? Should the Steelers win this game? Is it, man, they found a way, they needed it, they don't have to win this game, but you want them to because there's several things at stake here. I think you can, you win the AFC North.
And that'll hopefully let you rest your guys for Week 17.
And let you rest your guys for Week 17, and it just gives you the confidence factor again that you can beat a team that has a chance. Look, if you mention teams in the AFC that have a potential chance to win the Super Bowl legitimately, you're talking about the Chiefs, you're talking about the Bills, you're talking about the Colts, I think, right?
Yeah, and hopefully the Steelers, but if they can't beat the Colts, then it'll be harder to put them in that Tier 1 conversation, or Tier 2, because the Chiefs are probably in Tier 1 all by themselves. But yeah, I think honestly, the third point you just said is one of the biggest things, just to give you the sky is no longer falling mentality. The questions about losing, the Juju stuff, which we didn't even touch on, thank goodness, about him not dancing, and just all that extracurricular type stuff. So this win would be in a lot of different layers.
All right, I guess that is something that we should talk about real quick.
I shouldn't have mentioned it.
Yeah.
That's what I get. Yeah, so Juju said no longer dancing, not a surprise given what Mike Tomlin said on Tuesday, but he was going to talk to Juju about it. Certainly he was not going to be like, teach me dance moves, Juju, keep doing it. So Juju said for the betterment of the team, he's going to stop dancing. And I think it's the right decision. I mean, I think that they're just disrespectful to dance on a team's logo. If someone did that at Heinz Field, an opponent, people will be mad about that, rightfully so. I do think it adds an extra, even if it's small, layer of motivation and edge to an opponent when they see that the same way that when TJ Hushmanzada or Lendo White disrespected the terrible towel, that was a thing the Steelers like to use to kind of hype themselves up. So I do think it played a role. I think there's a lot bigger problems in the Pittsburgh Steelers than Juju dancing. I don't like spending a lot of time and energy on it. I'm just sitting here saying I don't think he should do it. I'm glad he's not doing it, and I'm moving the heck on.
Well, it's not a story until it becomes a story, and it became a story. And
once they were losing.
Because they were losing, because other teams are getting asked about it, because it became too noticeable for the media to ignore, I guess. Is it right the way all this played out? I mean, once again, I've said this a few times about him. He's a good kid. Just look what he's doing off the field. And the bad thing about it right now is it's Christmas time. He's got all these things going on with his foundation and all like that, and they're being overshadowed by him logo dancing, and it's a shame that that's become the bigger story, but that's the way the media works,
right?
And he's doing a lot of good stuff, and nothing that he's done makes you say, oh man, there are people saying, well, he's becoming, get him out of here now. He's calling too much attention to himself. I think he approached it wrong in saying and saying I'm still going to be me and those kind of things. I'm not going to stop being who I am. It seemed that there was a little bit of defiance in there and all. And it came to the point where someone probably had to say something to him. And yeah, he made the right decision. So is it a shame that we're talking about that? Yes. Look, do your dancing in the end zone or something like that. Even though now, even at this point, if he was to move his dancing into the logo of the end zone, then it's going to be, oh, see, he's just moved on to dancing on their logo in the end zone. Right?
Well, I don't know if anyone will get mad about that. And
They will. I guarantee you they will. That will be a story if he's out there doing that TikTok dance on the logo of the opponent's end zone. It'll be.
If he's doing it in the end zone. I thought you meant after he scored a touchdown during a game.
No. I'm talking about pregame.
Yeah. He shouldn't don't dance on anyone's. Don't dance pregame. I guess I don't know if that's the best thing for him to do. I hear you. It's unfortunate that this story's getting this much attention and this much life is being breathed into it. But I mean, I do think he should stop dancing, and I'm glad that he's not stop dancing on the logo, and I'm glad that that's going to be put to an end.
Yeah, I mean, once again, it's unfortunate. He made the right decision and all like that. It's a shame that
he didn't. Well, he didn't have a decision.
Right,
Tomlin said he better stop, my man.
Well, I mean, but overall, he makes it public and saying what he said.
Sure.
All right, did we miss anything? Any other newsworthy stuff?
Nope, I think that's everything. Let's get to some reader emails and close out today's Christmas podcast.
All right, let's see if we have – I don't think we have as many to go over this week here. Chris Bailey writes in, Happy Victory Tuesday. Wait, they what? Lost to the Ryan Finley led Bengals. I guess it doesn't help when you spot them a 17-point lead. In that case, my question is not football related, as I'm sure you've had enough cut Ben fire, Randy fire, Tomlin emails. I was just wondering how you were getting on with the fungible minutia T-shirts, as I'd love to get one, please. Look, probably going to obviously we got so much going on right now. Just we're trying to get content out that we need to get out. And those kind of things there. So it's probably going to be on into the off season before we spend more time with that aspect of it. But we have had a lot of great feedback when it comes to things like that. So we'll get on it as soon as possible. And thanks for the email and happy holidays to you.
Yeah, happy holidays, Merry Christmas. Thank you so much for the email. Yeah, hopefully an off-season project, but not something that's going to happen until the Steelers are done playing.
Yeah, we don't want to sacrifice content or time and effort going that direction, getting that kicked off the ground there. Jason Campbell writes in, happy holidays to you both. I know there's a lot of talk about Ben and his willingness / confidence in throwing middle of the field and his decrease in arm strength. Do you think it's possible that it's less about the arm and more about his ability to firmly grip the ball? I thought he said that he gets that funny bone tingling. Maybe he doesn't have the same sensation in the fingertips and affecting his spiral and velocity. Just 2 cents. Here's to a better 2021. Good health and good football. Look, if Ben had any sort of problem, I don't think he'd be afraid about telling anybody.
Well, I don't know if he would say it, but I think you would. I mean, he can still zip the football. I mean, that throw to Deontay, some of those, bang eight type throws. I mean, he can still zip it on a line. It just, deep downfield when there's loft under the football where it's got more of an arc to it is where he seems to struggle. So, again, who knows? I can't answer that, obviously, one way or the other. I mean, I would guess no. Again, I think sometimes we search for these answers and they're not always there. But I think if that was the case, then you would be seeing that on some other passes, and he's still got life on the football. Just the actual deep ball is just poor.
All right, this one from Edward Arnold, doom and gloom. Hey, guys, a lot of Steeler news seems very doom and gloom right now. Articles are popping up now talking about the bad cap situations going into the offseason. If Steeler fans really feel like this is the end, why not just try to enjoy it with some blind hope? This may be the end of an era for the team. At least they will be in a playoff game. Might as well sit back and hope for the best. If it is the Titanic, be the musicians playing the music as the ship sinks. Go Steelers. Look, we lose sight of the fact sometimes that this is a team that's going to be in the playoffs, depending on who they play, what the matchup might be. I don't know. Maybe you maybe you draw the Dolphins team. Maybe you look. I've said it several times. This defense is good enough to go X amount of games into the playoffs. Really, I think it's still a Super Bowl team, defensive team overall. if they get the right people back. If you get Vince back on the field, if you get Spillane back in there, if you don't lose anybody else right now, I think this is a defense that can do their part in getting this team to potentially to the Super Bowl. Now, obviously, you would think along the lines there, you're going to have to play the Chiefs at some point there. That would be a hell of a damn test for this defense. The question, obviously, about the offense. Can the defense play good enough every game once the playoff starts to at least give the offense a chance? That's the biggest question. And can the offense potentially in at least one game score the 30 points? You know? That's the question, Mark. Now, obviously, look, should people be booking Steelers Super Bowl parties or deep playoff run parties right now? No. Look, Alex and I just picked against the Colts. I mean, against the Steelers in the game against the Colts. We've got to see something here to make us feel a little bit better about the chances of this team. But yes, it is true that this team does have at least one playoff game that we need to look forward to, and whatever happens, happens.
I agree. That perspective is important. I appreciate the reader optimism. I wish more people would embody it, but I understand the real concerns about this team that are worthy of being talked about. Quickly here, Dave, other piece of news I should have mentioned. Ben Roethlisberger said they called a players-only meeting, very much stressed that this was not anything to do with a losing streak. I don't know if it's one of those, he doth protest too much kind of deals, but said it was about getting the young guys ready for the postseason. 25 players on this current roster have never appeared in a playoff game. So any thoughts on the dreaded players-only meeting?
No, not really, but it might have been a little bit more to it than that.
Yeah, I don't know if it's 100% coincidence this meeting came. It's not like it's week 17 and the playoffs are next week, and that's when you have your big, okay, here's the postseason meeting. So maybe the two intertwined a bit, but interesting comment there from Ben, who was, again, very, very adamant that this was not to address the losing streak.
Look, there are, even if they lose out, God forbid, which is an extreme possibility.
Possible. I wouldn't even call it an extreme. I mean, they could lose to the Colts and Browns.
Right. You need to win one here, and you'd like it to be this week. So, I think this is a get together with just say, look, we need everybody's best this week. We need to get this thing back together here. We need to stop with the TikToking, whatever. We need to get focused in on this week, because if we get a win this week, we'll quiet some of the critics. How many critics are they going to quiet this week? A win. They'll quiet us because you and I just picked against them, right?
There'll still be some that. Colin Cowherd's not going to have his mind changed regardless of the outcome this week.
Well, look, we talked about the game against the Bengals, that the only positive narrative that comes out as they win 50-something to 3. Well, they didn't win at all. So there's no good narratives to come. The narratives are exactly what they should be. And that is the doom and gloom and soft and Ben's too old, needs to be done. Look, they got everything they got this past week. They had coming to them. You just need to reverse. You just got to try to get the wind blowing in the other direction here as much as you can, because like it or not, if you don't win this game and the Browns win their game, you have to play in week 17, right? You just can't lay down and say, well, we're in the playoffs, right?
No, of course not. No, the goal is always to start the year the goal is always to win the North. And so if that's still competitive or in contention for week 17, then of course you have to play your guys.
Now they do have an experienced team. You said, well, there were 20-something guys have not had, don't have playoff experience. What about the other 20 that do?
Yeah, I don't know how that compares. I mean, it's probably, an average,
it's probably higher, right?
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. But I was referencing, Ben's, that was, according to Ben, the reason for the meeting. And I wanted to put the number on how many guys have not appeared in a postseason game. And I came up with 25.
All right, Alex, we're at 90 minutes on a Christmas Day podcast. So I think that's enough there.
All right. Well, hopefully everyone has a very Merry Christmas. If you're in Nashville, by the way, apparently there was some sort of incident in Nashville today, some sort of explosion. So hope any Steeler fans down there are okay. But hope you guys all have a very safe and happy, enjoyable, and Merry Christmas.
I agree. Thank you for tuning in. If you took time to tune in, especially on Christmas Day, if you didn't, we understand. Hopefully you get time to listen to this thing before the game happens on Sunday. It'd be weird having back a 1 o'clock Eastern start. But we should be able to get a lot done immediately after the game, and then Alex and I will be back the day after the game on Monday to recap what happened between the Steelers and Colts. So in the meantime, you can follow me on Twitter at Steelers Depot. Follow Alex on Twitter at Alex_Kozora. Follow the show at Terrible Podcast. Email the show, theterriblepodcast@gmail.com. If you like what we do and you want to donate to the cause, go to SteelersDepot.com, hit the donate button, upright navigational bar. Also, if you like an ad-free version of the site, please go to SteelersDepot.com, hit the ad-free button, upper right navigational bar, and for $25 for 1 calendar year, you can have an ad-free version of the site, and that's been very popular as well. So again, happy holidays, everybody. Merry Christmas. Have a safe next couple of days, and we'll talk to you again on Monday. As always, thanks for listening to the Terrible Podcast with Dave and Alex.